There are in this world a few rare living luminaries who shed divine luster of grace and compassion all around, wherever they happen to be. One can neither forget them even after one chance meeting, nor brush away from their memory the spoken words. This was exactly the feeling I had after my first darshan of Ma. But strangely enough, although Ma said, "Come again," during my first darshan, I could not make it. I could not meet her for the second time during her stay for the next 2 days in Simla. Perhaps it was not to be, as it was not allotted for me. I had a second darshan of Ma in Delhi after a lapse of 3 months. But alas, the second darshan was quite different and disappointing in comparison with the first. While the first darshan filled me with joy, happiness, and peace, the second one left me disheartened and despondent. It happened like this. In those days, when our new Delhi ashram at Kalkaji was under construction, Ma used to stay in the compound of Dr. J.K. Sen's house at Hanuman Road in a separate block of rooms built especially for her use. One day, on receiving information about her arrival in Delhi, I went after office hours straight to Dr. Sen's house. Outside the house, a cluster of motor cars assured me of Ma's presence inside. On going near the portion of Ma's block, I noticed that Ma was sitting inside a circular room, obviously built and used for satsang, surrounded by many devotees, the majority of whom were ladies. It looked impossible for me to pierce through that cordon and go near Ma. I therefore took my position behind a group of devotees who were standing at a distance and watching Ma. Ma was then narrating a story, obviously to make home a point raised in a question by somebody, and everybody was enjoying the story with rapt attention. Those who have had the opportunity and good fortune of hearing stories from Ma by sitting near her must have noticed and enjoyed her captivating style and intimate way of storytelling. In order to make a questioner understand an intricate point of sadhana or spiritual practice, Ma would sometimes start telling a story, and during the process, she would very often raise her hands in significant movements, occasionally would strike one palm with the other, and at other times would burst into scintillating laughter. The effect of all these is magical on listeners who not only remain spellbound all through, but also get a spontaneous feeling of transportation to another world, a world free from sorrows and unhappiness, and one full of peace and tranquility, light and ananda. It is a common experience that at the end of such a story, not only the questioners feel amply rewarded, but the listeners present are gratified with a rare treat. This, in short, is the story Ma told. Somewhere a person died, and it was decided by his friends and relatives to perform the last rites on the bank of the Ganga, which was a long way off. It was nighttime. When the dead body was being carried to the distant cremation ground, a lashing storm attended with torrential rain broke out, making further progress impossible. The bier carriers, the ones carrying the body, had no other alternative than to leave the bier with the corpse on the road and run for shelter. On reaching there, they fell asleep due to extreme fatigue. Not far from this place, there lived a very old and destitute woman whose condition due to prolonged illness was very serious at that time. She had a long cherished desire to breathe her last on the bank of the Ganga, but how it could be possible she knew not. Then in that night of rain and storm, she heard about that dead body left temporarily due to inclement weather. This she thought to be a God-gifted opportunity, which she decided to avail of. She somehow went near the forsaken bier, managed to unfasten the dead body and drag it to a nearby nala or drain full of water. She then took the place of the dead body on the bier, covered herself fully with a cloth, and lay still. After some time, when the weather was clear, the carriers of the bier returned and raised the bier on their shoulders without a semblance of suspicion of any foul play in their mind, and proceeded towards the cremation ground. On reaching the bank of the Ganga, they started making necessary arrangements for performing the last rites. In the meanwhile, the old woman breathed her last. In this way, her desire was fulfilled as it was destined to be. Ma then ended the story with the following conclusion. God, in his supreme kindness and infinite compassion, makes whatever arrangements are necessary for the bestowal of anything that is allotted to each of us, just at the proper time and place. What an excellent conclusion and teaching, which once heard remains engraved forever in the listener's heart. The lesson, therefore, that one should draw and abide by is that we will never be deprived of anything that has been allotted to us by God. But alas, what a pity it is that we cannot keep ourselves satisfied with this divine promise, as we are by nature prone to take it as uncertain. This leaves us fussing and fretting for the non-achievement of anything that we think we are entitled to have at any self-chosen hour. This reminds us of the Gurudev Rabindranath Tagore's immortal words. What we want in error. What we get, we want not. At the conclusion of the story, Ma got up to leave, and the devotees rushed rather unseemly to her obeisance. Ultimately, a queue was formed, and after standing in the queue for quite some time, when my turn came to go near Ma and do pranam, I noticed that Ma looked at me only for a second or two and then turned her eyes away. That fleeting look of hers appeared to me as an empty look, devoid of attention or recognition. I, however, did pranam, but with a heart full of disappointment and uneasiness. I then moved out of the queue to enable the next man to avail of his turn. My mind was agitated, particularly at the painful thought that Ma could not recognize me, which I fondly hoped she would do. Of course, she had seen me only once in the past, and that too for a short while. Was that brief encounter sufficient for Ma to recognize me after a lapse of 3 months? Who knows? Afterwards, when I thought over this incident in leisure, I reasoned that this happened as I had in the niche of my heart a false vanity and an empty pride that Ma would surely recognize me and speak a few words as she did during the first darshan. I derived some consolation from this line of reasoning that Ma's look of non-recognition was purposeful to smash up that baneful vanity for my ultimate good. But I was at a loss to figure out the motive and significance of Ma's words, "Come again," spoken during my first visit. Being unable to get at the underlying meaning of those words, I came to the conclusion that those words had no importance whatsoever. They were words of formality, which Ma perhaps tells everybody who visits her for the first time. This conclusion, however, filled me with deep disappointment, as a result of which I lost all interest and inspiration to visit her again. That I lost inspiration to go to her was not beyond the knowledge of all-knowing Ma, and I came to realize this fact a month later through an unforgettable dream. In the afternoon of a holiday in Delhi, I dreamt that I was walking along a lonely road, and I found a rosary, and a mantra came to me after some time. With the kind help of a Swami of the ashram, I was able to show it to Ma the following day, the rosary, and she took it into her hands, touched every bead of it, and returned it to me with the instruction to turn to it daily with the same mantra I got in the dream. In this way, what happened in the dream turned into reality, and from then on started my coming again and again to Ma through her boundless grace and infinite compassion. Jai Ma.